Serena Apia here from thriftdiving.com, and I have a little confession to make in today's video. I have not always been sanding and staining things properly. I hate to admit it, but it's true. So in this video, I'm going to tell you why you need to be using a preconditioner on your wood before you're staining. Not all the time, but this wood here, this pine, is a board that you have to do that for. Stick with me because I'm going to show you how to do it and why you need to do it and why I was making a big mistake on all my old videos. Okay, so what we're going to do is put some of this preconditioner on one side of the board, and then we're going to stain the other side while this is settling into the pores. The reason why we want to do this is because, especially with some woods, such as pine, it's very easy for some of the stain to be taken up at a much faster rate. And what will happen is that it'll leave your wood super blotchy, and then you're wondering why your project looks like crap. So we're gonna just smooth this on, let it soak in for 5 to 15 minutes, and then wipe it off. We're going to use two different stains, espresso and early American. One is dark, one is kind of light, and that way you'll be able to see what happens with this stain. This is a really dark stain. I love the way this looks, but when you use it on pine, some of that pine sucks up at a different rate because of the, and I believe it's called early wood versus late wood. So we're going to apply this stain, and you're going to see the blotchiness starting to come out as I wipe this away, because there's nothing here protecting this wood from the stain seeping into, you know, different parts. So you see it's really, really blotchy. And look at that. This is without the wood conditioner. So that espresso stain does not look very good. It's blotchy. And imagine if you had built something from scratch, or you sanded something down and you put that stain on there. It's not gonna look as great as it could. So now let's try the early American, which is a little bit lighter, but again, you'll still see some of that blotchiness there. And we should get the same results where it's a little blotchy, doesn't look quite so good, because we didn't have pre-conditioner on underneath. And again, you see we've got blotchy color here. It just doesn't look good. It just does not look good. You do not want your projects to look like this. Now it's been about 5 minutes, so we can wipe this part off that has the pre-conditioner on it to make sure there's no residue. Let's start with the espresso. Did I just say espresso? Espresso. You see there's a nice rich color, but you don't get that same blotchiness. It has a lot more even tones. And now let's try the early American. You will see that the early American is probably at least about a shade or two lighter. Again, because that preconditioner settles into those pores and it doesn't totally penetrate or leave those pigments into the grain of the wood. So let's have a look. This is what the wood looks like, the pine looks like without the pre-stain. You see the blotchiness, but when you go over here, this was about 5 to 10 minutes of the pre-stain sitting on the pine, and then we just sort of wiped it off. But you can tell, look at that. It's a huge difference. So whenever you're working with projects, especially with wood that is pine, and it gives you some examples here on the back of the can, poplar, soft or porous woods, including pine, fir, alder, aspen, birch, and maple, you want to go with a pre-stained wood conditioner. And this little test tells you why. It shows you why. This looks pretty good. So I would want a project that looks like this. And this is a mistake that I had made early on in my DIY, even a year ago, because I didn't realize how important pre-stain was when you're using wood that's soft, like pine, which is very inexpensive, and we use it for a lot of projects. So you can see the difference between the blotchy part, which is not pre-stained, and the part that has a lot more even color. So this is what we want. We don't want the blotchiness. So going forward, make sure that you do pick up the pre-stain and use that whenever that you are doing, whenever you're using, you know, wood that's very soft, like maple, and it tells you here on the back the woods that you should use it for: maple, birch, pine, fir, alder, and aspen. So use this for those projects and you'll get great results. Okay, so let me jump in here with a few tips for success. If you are using an oil-based stain, you want to use the oil-based pre-stain. Same thing for water. If you're using a water-based stain, make sure that you use the water-based pre-stain. So the one you see in the red can, that's for oil-based stains. The one in the white, that's what you're going to use for your water-based stains. Pretty simple, right? Also, you want to be sure to apply your stains within 2 hours of applying your pre-stain. And if you can, do a test area first just to make sure you get really good results. Tip, I've got some projects that I'm going to do right now using a lot of pine. I am working on my closet makeover, my pantry makeover in my kitchen, and I am replacing all of the old nasty shelving, and I'm putting in some pine boards. And I don't want them to look blotchy. I want them to have a nice even color. So that's what we're going to do. All right, guys, so I will see you on the next video, and you can always find me at thriftiving.com. I'm Serena, and I'll see you next project.